Hey everybody, this is Barton Holmes with Yamaha Marine Center and Holmes & Owen Yacht Sales. Today I thought I would talk about our new line of boats, which is Parker Offshore. Parker makes boats from 18 to 28 feet. They have center console models and pilot house models. And they are a little bit different. They're a bit of an old school boat. And I thought what I would do is discuss how they differ from, say, a more mainstream boat, which would be the Key West. So why don't we start with the Key West 239. This boat is one we sell a lot of a year. We probably sell a dozen of these a year. Very, very popular boat. Very nicely made boat. Nice mid-range boat. It's got a full liner in the boat. You have a bench seat across the stern, leaning post. And then up here in the bow, you've got these molded in seats in storage units, drop-in backrests here, cushions that go down here. But you can see the boat has a full fiberglass liner in it, which means these seats, the deck, the sides, it's all one piece molded together. Of course, you've got lids that go on, but the deck is one main piece that comes out of a mold, which is completely different than what is going on in these 23-foot Parkers that we have. And so I wanted to discuss that. Also the design. You've got molded in seats here, a much more family-focused package with fishability than you have in the Parker. The Parker is much more of a fishing-oriented package, and I thought I'd discuss some of these differences. So you see what this arrangement is like in this boat, the full fiberglass liner, which is very typical in boats today. There are very few that do it the way Parker does. And it's just different. One is not necessarily better than the other. There are pros and cons to both. So let's walk over to the Parker and look inside that boat, and you can see some of the differences. The Parkers, the Key Wests, they're all full fiberglass hulls. There's no coring in either hull, so it's solid fiberglass bottom to the hull and hull sides. But as we look into the Parker, you see that the Parker does not have the bench seat across the stern. So you've got these two small jump seats here. Underneath the jump seats are batteries on either side, pump, raw water wash down. But there's not a bench seat across here. You've got cushions that drop in. And then you've got a backrest here, which is just the coaming bolster there. So what that is allowing you to do is this space here in front of the motor, you can walk all the way to the transom of the boat. You can fish off the transom, you can pull in fish, so it gives you a lot more cockpit space in the boat. The 23 Key West has a tremendous cockpit, but it doesn't give you the space that this boat does, but you sacrifice the full bench seat in the stern. For a fisherman, I think that works really well. For a family, you'd have to decide whether or not that's the way to go. As you move forward, leaning post is not that different, although in the Parker we've got the live well in the base of the leaning post. But the leaning post design, the console design, not dramatically different between the two boats. Nice big oversized hardtop on this boat, similar to what you see in the Key West. In the bow, you can see in the upper, if you remember the other boat, we had the two bench seats facing forward with the lids. This is just this bench going across this way. It does come with a cushion. You've got storage underneath. This just lifts up for storage. But what you can't do is you can't sit here facing forward with your feet up. So from the family cruising aspect, you can sit athwartship sideways and hang out up here, which is fine, but probably not quite as comfortable as being able to sit with your back here and your feet facing this way, two people. So it's just a different design. Old school design. Here on the front of the console is just a seat. There's no bench underneath. There's no storage underneath it. It's just a cantilevered cushion. The other big difference in this boat is you'll see that the cap here, going all the way down the boat, the cap is a separate piece. It's not part of the deck or the hull sides. In this boat, the way it's constructed, is completely different than the Key West when it comes to the deck. So this component, the cap, does come out of a mold. It's a fiberglass component, comes out of a mold. Then it's through bolted. Let me show you this. This is another advantage of this, but if you get underneath here, you'll see that every 12 inches or so, you've got a bolt that goes through. On the Key West and the vast majority of boats, you just simply have screws that come through because you can't get to this area. If you have a full liner, you've got a hull side that, or an interior liner that comes down into this area. Because we've got the cap on here, we can get underneath to the hull deck joint, and it can actually be through bolted. And you can easily get to all these fittings. You can see how heavily everything is reinforced. And it gives you a lot of space. You don't lose any of this. You can get up here. You don't lose any of this tow room here, so you have the deck going all the way out to the hull side. That is the side of the boat. That is the side of the hull itself. That's not an inner liner. That is the outside of the hull, or the inner part of the outside of the hull. In the Key West, you would have a liner that would come in, and it would be, and you would have basically 6 inches or so of space between the hull side and the inner liner of the boat. So the way this is constructed, since it doesn't come out of a mold, is this is actually all plywood underneath the deck here. So the deck is plywood, it's covered in fiberglass, it's completely encased in fiberglass. The stringer system in this boat is a full plywood stringer system, marine grade plywood that has a lifetime warranty not to rot. But what happens is they build this kind of in a stick fashion. Almost looks like an egg crate, if you will, when they're building it. And then they fiberglass the inside of everything. Let me show you this compartment. So you see, this is what I'm talking about. This piece of plywood here is about 1/2 inch thick, and this goes all the way forward. It's continuous running all the way to the bow of the boat. And then you've got members that run thwartships, and it creates at least a dozen of pockets, compartments, individualized compartments in the boat, and those are filled with foam. And then once all of that is done, then they'll take the plywood and put the plywood down, glass all of that over, glass up the hull sides, and bond everything together. These boxes here are actually made of solid glass. These are fiberglass, but where you see it go through the deck, that's drilled through the plywood and goes down in there. This is very traditional boat building. This is the way it's been done for years and years and years. And it creates, having the plywood in the boat creates a boat that has great seakeeping ability. Because of the density of the plywood, it absorbs the shock from waves very, very well. It's much more expensive to build boats in this fashion. I should say it's more time consuming to build boats in this fashion. But there are a lot of benefits to it, and that's why Parker continues to do it. I think over time, though, you'll probably find that they'll transition to more of linered boats that we talked about in the Key West. So it's great that we still have the option of having a boat built this way, especially for that traditional fisherman. It has a tremendous amount of space to walk around in the boat. I think you can make the argument that the boat feels bigger than the Key West inside, but it doesn't have some of the creature comforts that you do in the Key West. But if you're a fisherman and you care about its ability to fish and your space on the boat to fish, I think you're going to find the boat to be very attractive. You cut out in the transom, once again, something that's old school. People look at that and say, oh, water's going to come in the boat. It's possible, but generally the water flows right back out through these scuppers here in the transom. But for years and years, these are the way that the boats were made. Commercial boats, this boat does have kind of a commercial boat feel to it. And that's the way that the commercial guys would have it. Inside the console of this boat is huge. This little porta potty there. Step inside. And then behind this are the electronics and the wiring, all nicely done, very traditional. That's your freshwater tank here. Got a little freshwater pump, and you've got a shower nozzle that goes out of the side of the console there. But it's a It's a completely different type of product. We really are thrilled to have them. Its reputation on the water is just fantastic. People love these boats. People have these boats. It can be lifetime boats for people. And anyway, I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about the differences, why this boat is built the way that it's built, and how it's built. And I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to us. Thanks so much for listening and watching.